So roots and radicals. We're going to start with the roots part of things. Starting with this. If I say 5 squared equals 25, we would say 5 is a square root. Of 25, right? If 5 squared equals 25, then 5 is a square root of 25. If I do 5 cubed equals 125, we would say that 5 is a what? Cube root, right? 5 is a cube root of 125, okay? And we could keep going. I'm not going to write this all out, but I'll just show you with this one. If I say 5 to the 4th is 625, we would say 5 is a 4th root of 625, okay? 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is 625. So the definition here of what a root is this, okay? With real numbers, A and B, and N is a positive integer. Integer. Oh, guys, do you guys watch Jeopardy? I don't know why this just popped into my head, but tonight is like the night for Jeopardy. Tonight's the night where like the 3 biggest champions get to compete against each other. I just got so excited. It's awesome.
We should watch Jeopardy right now.
To prepare you?
Yeah.
It's not on yet. Just a different episode? Sure. Yeah, it's good for you. Okay, anyway, real numbers A and B, N is a positive integer. Here it is. If A to the nth power equals B, then A is an nth root of B. Okay, so that's the way it will always be said. A is an nth root of B, assuming that all of this information is true. Okay? So here's something to think about. 2 to the 4th is 16, and negative 2 to the 4th is 16, right? So we would say 2 and negative 2 are 4th roots of 16, okay? That means 2 and negative 2 are 4th roots of 16. Okay, it could be positive or it could be negative in that situation. Now, here's one that maybe tends to get confused a bit. If we say x to the 4th equals negative 16, can you multiply something by itself 4 times and get a negative?
No.
Not with real numbers, right? We are not doing this stuff in this chapter. We are not doing anything imaginary. So if it's x to the 4th or x to the 2nd, any even exponent, you cannot have a negative number, okay? You can with the odd numbers, like x to the 3rd power, you can have a negative because a negative times a negative times a negative is negative, right? So 3rd power is fine. If we did something like this, negative 5 to the 3rd power equals a negative 125, that's fine. Negative 5 is actually the only real root, cube root of negative 125. You can't have a positive 5 for that, right? You can't go 5 times 5 times 5 and get a negative, okay? So just be careful with positives and negatives here. Here's a little key for you to help you figure out some of what we are going to do today. So we're going to talk about the type of number. I'm going to make a little chart for you, ish. If the nth root is even versus if the nth root is odd. Okay, so let's say, I really should have just set this up as a chart. We'll go like this. It's terribly messy, I'm sorry. Let's say the number is positive versus if the number is negative. Okay. If your number is positive and your nth root is even, you will always have two solutions to that. Okay? Whereas if your number is negative and your nth root is even, you will have no solutions. You cannot take like the square root of negative 16 and get a real number. Okay? We're talking real numbers for this stuff. Okay? Whereas if your nth root is odd and the number is positive, or if your nth root is odd and the number is negative, for both of those, you will get one solution. Okay? And I'm going to show you that right now in an example. Here's our first example. Okay, we are going to find all the real roots. Okay, no imaginary anything in this chapter. And we're going to start with cube roots. Okay. So let's say I want to know the cube root of 27. Okay. First of all, our root is odd, right? Cube root is the number 3. That's an odd number. So if we're talking cube roots here, how many solutions are we going to get? If it's odd, cube roots, no matter what, even or positive or negative numbers, you're going to get one solution. So all of these that I'm going to show you with cube roots, you're going to have one solution. Okay? Can anyone tell me what the cube root of 27 is? So something times something times something. The same number 3 times is 3, right? Cube root of 27 is 3. How about, can you tell me the cube root of 0.008? This one's tough. 0.2. 0.2. Did you guys know it's Dave's birthday today? Were you all in here for that? He's 16 today. Happy birthday. That would be 0.2. And if you don't know that off the top of your head, it's okay. I'm going to show you a way to figure it out in a little while. But some people can just do that in their head. Third one. Welcome. The cube root of negative 1,000. Remember, you're going to get one answer because it's odd. A negative number. What is your cube root going to be? Negative 10. Okay? So negative 10 times negative 10 times negative 10 would give you negative 1,000. Okay, so that's if you have cube roots. What if we do fourth roots? Right? This was odd. This is even. Right? Fourth root, the number 4 is even. So now, if our number is positive, we're taking the fourth root of a positive number, you should get 2 answers. If our number is negative, you will get 0 answers, 0 real answers, right? So what if I said, what's the fourth root of 1? 1 and negative 1, right? The positive and the negative. So the fourth root of 1 would be 1 or negative 1. 2 answers, okay? Because it was positive, 2 answers. What if I said, what's the fourth root of negative 10,000? None, right? That's the 0 up here. It's a negative and an even root. There are no real solutions there. So this is none. Okay. What if I said the fourth root of 16 over, not 18, sorry. I'm being dyslexic for a minute. 81. Okay, 16 over 81. What is it? Plus or minus 2 over 3, right? 2/3, 2 over 3, or negative 2 2 over 3. If I took negative 2 over 3 and I multiplied it by itself 4 times, I would get 16 over 81. Yeah. Okay, so that's when it's in words like this. And here's where it gets a little bit tricky, okay? Because now we're going to talk radicals. And things change a little bit when we actually have the symbol involved. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's just the way of it. So for this, you're going to use your calculator. Okay, so go ahead and get your calculator out. Here are the details of this setup. So you have an n, the square root symbol, which is the radical symbol. It's not actually a square root. It's an nth root right now. And then an a inside here, okay? This right here is called our index. That index is going to change a lot in the next several lessons. It might be a square root. If it's a square root, the index is a 2, right? Square root is a 2 there. It might be a cube root, your index is a 3. Might be a fourth root, your index is a 4, okay? So that is your index. This number, anyone know what it's called? You learned it in algebra. It's the radicand. Radicand. Isn't that a fun word? It's a fun word. And then this is just your radical symbol. Okay. Now here's the tricky part. Your radical symbol, so when we're using the symbol like this with your calculator, we are only going to get one answer. And it is called the principal root. Which is always the positive answer. Okay, so you're going to get, like when I say take the square root of 16, right? When you plug that into your calculator, the square root of 16, it tells you what? 4, okay? It doesn't tell you negative 4 anymore. Even though negative 4 times negative 4 does get you 16, okay? That's called the principal root. We just take the positive one when we're working with the symbols like this. When we're working with the words like we did up here, saying it more in word form than in symbol form, then you can do both, okay? So try to keep that straight. I know it's a little tricky. So let me show you on your calculator where you're going to find these buttons if you don't know them already. Some of you probably already do. We're going to find the real root, starting with this one. And many of you probably know this off the top of your head, but I'm just going to show you because there's going to be problems that you don't know off the top of your head, so you need to know where to find them. Let me turn this on. Anyone know the button you're going to click first? On, yes, good. So here's the deal. When we are dealing with, I don't like this lighting very much, but we'll see how it goes. When we are dealing with a cube root of 64, you're going to click math, and you'll see there the number 4 is a cube root, okay? The number 5, you're going to use just as much, but notice it has an X out in front. You can use cube root with 5, but you have to put a 3 first. So if you go clear out of here, 3, and then math 5, it gives you the cube root, okay? I wouldn't do it that way. I would just use the cube root button because you have it there. But if you want to do a 4th root, you need to hit, before you even go to math, you're going to hit 4, then hit math number 5 there, and notice what it does. It turns it into a 4th root for you, okay? Okay, so for this first one, we're taking the cube root of 64. So I'm going to go math 4, and then type in 64, hit enter. Notice it gives you the number 4. Okay? Try it with this one. Plug this into your calculator. The 4th root of 81. And again, I know a lot of you already know what that is off the top of your head, but I want to make sure you know how to plug it into your calculator. So what should you plug in first? 4. Hit the 4, then math, then the 5, right, the x one, and that'll turn it into 4th root, 81, and you get 3. Okay? How about this one? What if I did the square root of negative 100? Okay, if you plug that into your calculator, you should get that, right? Non-real answers. We're not doing imaginaries. So it will tell you, nope, can't do that. So you're just going to say there's no solution. Okay. How about, what's the square root of 81? 9, right? For square root, you don't even need to go into math. I mean, you could, but it's just more work. Square root should be right here. It's your x squared, just to the second. How about the cube root of negative 27? Careful with that one. Is that no solution? It's not, right? Plug in cube root, math 4, negative 27. You get what? Negative 3. Okay? So just be really careful that you don't just assume when you see a negative inside that it's no solution. If it's an odd root, there is a solution. If it's an even, or index, sorry, if your index is odd, you have one solution. If your index is even, then you'll have no solution. Okay? So what would this one be? 4th root of negative 16. That one's no solution. Okay? Questions on that? Okay. I'm going to click back over. So this is pretty again. There we go. All right, so talking about radicals, and we're going to throw some variables in with this. Okay. You are going to assume that all variables are positive. They're not going to tell you that they are, but we're going to assume all variables are positive. So this is where in the book, if you go back and look at the lesson, they're going to have all these absolute value bars and stuff like that. We don't make you do that. You don't need to worry about absolute value bars. We're assuming all the variables are positive, okay? Here's what you're going to do. We're just going to simplify. That's not what I want. Or that. Okay, so to simplify this, your calculator will do the square root of 9 for you. It won't do the square root of x to the 6th for you. So you have to figure out, how do we do this? If I take the square root of 9, remember this is a 2 here, right? The square root, it's as if there's a 2 there. So something times itself, 2 times, is going to get you 9. That one, we all know, is 3. But then you have to ask yourself, x to the 6th, how would I get the square root of x to the 6th? Anyone know what that is? What? Can't put it in your calculator. It's x to the 3rd, right? You just divide them, okay? So x to the 6th, divide by 2, it would be x to the 3rd, right? Because x to the 3rd times x to the 3rd is x to the 6th power, right? So that would be your square root of x to the 6th would be x to the 3rd. So you get 3x to the 3rd here. All right, what if it's not a square root? What if it's a cube root of 8, a to the 3rd, b to the 6th? Okay, what's the cube root of 8? And if you don't know it, now you have that button on your calculator, right? Your calculator will tell you it's 2. What's the cube root of a to the third? 3 divided by 3 is 1, right? It's just a. So a. And then what is the cube root of b to the 6th? B squared, right? You just go 6 divided by 3. You get b to the 2nd power. So this would be your answer, 2ab to the 2nd. Okay? How about this one? If you have the square root of 25, x to the 4th, y to the 10th. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of x to the 4th. X squared, right? X to the 4th, we're just dividing that by 2. You get x squared because my index is 2, right? I'm dividing by that index number. Y to the what? Y to the 5th. Again, 10 divided by 2. Okay? You all right? Okay. What's the 4th root of 10,000? X to the 4th. Y to the 16th. You know the 4th root of 10,000? It's 10. 4 zeros, right? The 4th root of x to the 4th is x. And the 4th root of y to the 16th? Y to the 4th. You guys are so smart. Okay? Questions on that? That's it.